Hey guys, Chris the Ultimate Recycler. On the workshop bench tonight is a very average looking video player, VHS. It's a LG and the model is an FC930W. It looks okay from the front. Look at the top. It's been in a shed for quite a number of years. I have no idea what condition it's like inside. It's pretty grubby. I don't know why it was put in the shed. It was a deceased Cassette cleaned out. One would assume that if their video player was faulty, they would have either had it fixed or thrown it out. So the fact that it was in the shed may mean that it was a goer. However, we don't know what's happened since it's been in the shed. Let's pull it apart and see if we can fix it. Okay, I'm not going to lay a cleaning rag on it just yet. The first thing we need to do is have a quick look on eBay and see if these models are actually worth the hassle to even get going. Video players in the last 10 years have actually become a bit more sought after than they used to be. So let's check the model number out on eBay and see if they bring much money. Okay, I've searched LG and the model number only. We have two results in Australia. One of them is asking $150. And the other one is only asking $34.95, but that says parts only. Let's have a quick look at that listing. And the description powers up, but when you insert a tape it shuts down. It's beyond my skills to repair at the moment. Okay, it certainly isn't working, and that would put people off straight away. It's a nice clean looking unit. But this one I assume is a goer, $150. It has the remote. Unfortunately, we don't have the remote with ours. So let's see completed items, which is a much more representative situation. Okay, there's a remote sold for $30. I may have one in a box. I've got a box of assorted remotes at the shop. Here's one tested and working, sold for $58 with 4 bids and $20 postage. Does that one have a remote? Working with play far forward rewind, does not have a remote. Few scratches on top. Okay, that's actually quite a good thing to see. So it's sold with no remote and 4 bids, and someone paid about 60, 70, almost $80. So that's pretty promising. Any others? There was another one here, $129.99. It's sold with 30 postage. And the next one, $129 as well. That's actually a different seller. And another one here, also $129.90. Free postage on that one. Oh, free postage, that one too. And it doesn't look like that one has a remote. The next one does. That one does. Anyway, there's another one here at $125. So they're selling quite well. That one doesn't. Oh, it does have a remote. Okay, so I've seen enough. It looks like they're a sought after model. We can buy a remote for it if we want to. I won't be, but the person that buys it off me might like to, if I don't have one to put with it. Okay, so my research has shown us that it's certainly worth spending a little bit of time on. There's going to be some value there if it turns out that it works well or it just needs a bit of a clean up. So I'll give it a really quick clean on the top here. And we'll polish it up nicely at the end if it goes well. I just want to make it a little bit neater to handle. And what I'm going to do, I'll take it to the shop tomorrow. I don't have a TV here to actually plug it into. I need to set up a test TV. We might just brush the back off as well. And we'll test it at the shop and see if the thing goes. Alright, good morning guys. I'm at the shop early and I thought I'd test this VCR before we open. I've hooked it up here to an old Audio Sonic vintage TV DVD combo. When I say vintage, it's, I don't know, probably 2000s. We've got a bit of a screen refresh thing going on there. Anyway, it should be ample to test. I've plugged it in, but I haven't turned it on yet. I wanted to share that experience with you guys in case we see some magic smoke get out. I have removed the screws from the cover, but I haven't taken the cover off yet. So let's have a look at that. I'll put the camera in the tripod, we'll have a look at that together, and then we'll fire it up and see if it's actually going to come to life. So the screws have been removed, and the cover should come off. There's no screws in the back. Oh, there's a little clip in the back. Okay, that's released it. All right, Let's see if there's any wildlife in here. It's cleaner than I thought it would be. That's good, a good sign. Okay, it doesn't look like there's been any rodents or anything get in there. It's actually nice and clean. I guess the little door there closes fairly securely. So we can now probably power it up, and I'll see if I can find a cassette to put in here. One thing, when you have an old wares shop, there's nearly everything you need. There's an old BBC As Time Goes By video cassette. So that will do for a test. Let's apply some power to the machine now. Power on. And we don't have a remote, remember, but we'll power it on from here. Okay, it's coming to life. We've got a high on the screen. The motor's spinning. Alright, let's put the cassette in. I haven't tuned the TV to the AV setting yet, but we'll try and get a cassette to play. Ah, okay. It's not taking the cassette in. I guess that's a sensor switch. Alright, so it won't load the cassette. We're going to have a look at that. I'm probably going to have to take that home again now and see what to go with that is. There's a pretty good chance, if it hasn't been used for a long time, that any grease that might have been on the little cams and things that operate switches might have dried out and stuck them. So I'm going to have a better look at that. But anyway, at least we have the display fired up. It's clean inside, there was no smoke, so I'll have a bit of a tinker tonight. Okay, home after a good day at the shop, a very good day actually. It was quite hot, it's still very hot outside. It's, I think it's close to 100 Fahrenheit, about 37.5. And I've got the fans going in the workshop here, so if you can hear a bit of noise in the background, that's what it is. Alright, so we're just going to take the front plastic fascia off. There's just some plastic clips here. And they should lever forward, there we go. I did notice some grease here on some of the tracks of the moving parts, and it's still quite greasy, so it hasn't all dried out, which is good. Alright, let's get the rest of this off. I think we've got to undo clips from the bottom too. Hopefully you stay in shot there. It's that one, middle one. There we go. So the whole cover comes off these VCRs pretty easily. And now we get a much better view of the actual loading carriage. There's little levers here that obviously operate it all. There's going to be somewhere where there's a little drive motor and a little switch. Now I'm not familiar with these models, and I haven't done a lot of work on VCRs before. So let's have a bit of an investigate. I get the feeling it's going to be this end somewhere. Okay, there's a little lever there that allows the carriage to go back. So it seems like the linkages are fine. Let's put a video in and make sure it's actually operating that linkage. Okay, all the mechanics look okay. I'm going to power it up and just see if we can trigger something to work. So it's through my isolation transformer. And our on switch was over here. So it's bursting into life now. Yeah, we've got nothing going on there. It should be triggering a little drive motor to pull it in, which probably will be underneath. I might take the assembly actually out and we'll have a look underneath. Power off. Okay, there was only 4 screws holding the whole assembly in. So now we'll see if we can lift it out of the road, or at least get access to underneath it. Now we have a ribbon cable going through here. So we should be able to just pull that straight up gently. And we also have a ribbon cable going into the head. So we'll move those gently. And now we'll see what we can access. That's separated the whole piece. Let's get the chassis out of the road and have a look at the mechanism under here. Alright, we have a drive belt that looks okay, but that's the main drive belt to the head. It's not the lowering the carriage. There's another little motor here. That's probably the one that operates the carriage. Okay, I've been studying this movement for quite a while and I can't find a sensor switch anywhere. I can get the mechanism to move. There's a little locator thing here which the cassette presses down, and that allows the carriage to come in and to drop down. But I can't see any sensor anywhere. That's purely a mechanical thing. And when you push a cassette in, it should push in so far, and then the motor should bring the whole cartridge in and down like that. And this motor here does that. I actually took that motor off. It's a little 12 volt motor. It runs a worm gear through a chain of gears here. I can't turn these while the motor's attached because of the worm drive, but when that motor was out I could turn these freely, and I could manually wind the whole cartridge in fine. So mechanically there's no issues. I just cannot for the life of me find a sensor anywhere or a little switch that triggers this motor to come to life. This motor is powered off a little board over here, and I'm pretty sure the motor's going to be fine. I could probably put 12 volts to those terminals and make sure the motor operates. There is a sensor against this wheel, but I can't see the mechanism of the cassette going in actually altering this wheel at all. So it's a real puzzle at the moment. I can't find anything online to give me any clues. I can assure you that everything looks good mechanically and everything's quite greased and nothing's seized up, so it's in good condition that way. Turns out I didn't need to unplug the ribbon cable on the head here because it just goes under to this board. So I can't see anything wrong with this, except it doesn't appear to be working. So I don't know, I might put it back in the machine and just see if we can have a fiddle with it. Maybe we could test to make sure we do have 12 volts at this little motor when the thingo is about to go in. Not sure, it's very, very confusing. Alright, for a quick test, I've just got the leads on that little motor, which I think is a 12 volt motor. So we'll see if there is any voltage getting to it, because if there is, the motor is obviously letting the team down. So we push the cassette in. It should be grabbing there, it should be triggering something. And we've got absolutely nothing on the meter, so that's okay. I'm pretty sure the motor's alright. We possibly could actually apply 12 volts to the motor and get it to operate, but I don't know what that would do flowing back to the rest of the circuit. But anyway, there's no voltage getting to the motor, so I don't think the motor's the fault. Something isn't telling the motor that there's a cassette tape here waiting to go in. And I can't for the life of me see what. Alright, I better keep searching and scratching my head. Okay, so I was just fiddling. I was just moving this carriage in and out and seeing where there could be some sort of message thingo to tell the power to switch onto this motor. And as I was just fiddling like this, it actually started to operate, and I took my finger out because I got a hell of a surprise. But now it's stopped. So I've only had to do that once, but that is really encouraging because there's something that's just slightly out of adjustment. It tells me that nothing's burnt out. There's just some sort of sensor that's not working. And I don't know why it just suddenly turned on. Maybe there's a loose contact underneath. Alright, I've been fiddling around here waiting for inspiration for a while. I think I've found where the problem is. Now, I haven't had anything move again, but there seems to be a little switch mechanism down there, which when I had the whole mechanical part out, I wouldn't have realised that the switch was on the main board below, and I think that's where it is. So if I move this carriage in now, you can see it moves that little white lever. But the fact that there's a little bit of movement right like that, on that black switch which is on the bottom board. I'm hoping that's the actual sensor. It makes sense, there's enough movement there. There you go. But I'm still not getting anything happen, but I'm going to have to take the top section out and have a close look at that bottom board and whatever that black thing is, whether it's a little micro switch or whether it's a light sensor. I think that's where the problem is. Well, you look at that, see that little sensor there, little switch? It's a micro switch. So I don't know if it's faulty, or probably more likely there was just a bit of wear on the plastic and it wasn't pushing up hard enough. So we'll have to try and test that switch. I'm not sure what the best way to do that is. Maybe we can put the mechanism back in and manually push this switch further in and see if that operates it. Or maybe we can just put a meter on it and see if it's working as far as continuity goes. Interestingly, this board isn't actually screwed in. It's just held in by clips, and the whole board can actually slide back and forward by about 1 mil. I'm not sure if you can see that on camera. That's going to play havoc with a micro switch that relies on something just gently resting against it. So I wonder if I can secure that board a bit better. And if I push the board right back and then secure it somehow, maybe with just some silicone around the front part to stop the board working its way forward, the switch might work fine. So I've got the main board out and upside down, and our little switch is here. So I've got my meter set to diode test, so you should be able to hear that. And if we can get across these terminals, I really need 3 hands for this. We can probably go, well, let's just try it across that track there. We should get a beep. Yep. So let's now try across the switch. There, and I'll push the switch with my other finger. Oh, this is awkward. Right, I've got the switch closed with my other finger. And we've got nothing. Oh no, there we go. If I'm holding it right in, okay, it's working. But it does have to push all the way in. You can't see it from that side. So I'm sure, because this board had a little bit of movement, I'm sure that that little plastic arm isn't pushing the switch in far enough. So we might see if we can wedge the board back firm. And I don't know if we can actually do much with the switch. Maybe, you know what we could do? We could probably put a little dab of super glue on the end of it and let it set. And that will basically extend the trigger part of the switch. So it should operate without having to go all the way home. I think that's what I'll do. I'll put a little dot of glue on that tonight. And when we assemble it, we'll also try and stop this main board moving around. And then we'll test it tomorrow. So after another busy day in the shop, I'm home in the workshop tonight. I have glued just some little pieces of plastic in there and on the other side, just to hold the board back, and it's quite firm now. There doesn't seem to be any slop back and forward. So that should help our switching situation. And I have also, as I mentioned, put a little dab of glue on the end of the micro switch. So that seems to be nice and hard now. So we're ready to put it back together. Okay, let's place this mechanism back in its position. And we only have 4 screws to hold it in. We have to make sure those plugs line up underneath. I think it locates very accurately. It's pretty hard to get wrong. And we do need to plug that little ribbon cable back on. This one on the head's right. We put that back on before. So it's all sitting down nice and firm. And we might just have a little look at this plastic gear here and just see. And I can see the switch in there. You guys probably can't from your angle. I just want to make sure that that plastic tab, yes, it pushes right nicely on that switch in there. Okay, I'm confident. Let's put the screws back together. I'm going to put the power lead back in, plug that ribbon cable in, and we'll be ready for a test. Okay guys, are we ready for a live unrehearsed test? let's power the unit up. And our power here. There we go, it's doing all the right things. Okay, let's put a cassette in. Fingers crossed. Whoa, look at that. Beautiful. It all seems to be operating nicely. It's turning the cassette. It even says play. And that's the switch mechanism down there that's working on that switch beautifully. Fantastic. Now, I don't know how to stop it without the front panel on it. Does it actually name the switches? Don't know, I better consult the panel. This is like the hardcover book. I'll stop up the top, that one. Stop. Oh, it stopped. Now we can eject. Fantastic. Excellent. Now all we need to do is to actually make sure it plays, because I mean mechanically it seems good. Hopefully we can actually play a video and get a good picture and good sound. So I'll put the front cover back on. I'll put the main cover back on because I think we're finished in here for now. Hopefully we don't need to come back in here, and we'll go and give it a test on the TV in the studio. Okay, let's give it a test on this large LG TV, which I fixed the backlights on recently. I didn't put the cover on the video because I thought I might clean the head and the roller if it's going to work fine. So let's push our, oh, we're turned on. And we have the TV sensing a signal. Let's push our video in. It says play. Here we go. Look at that. Fantastic. Let's step back a bit. Beautiful. That's actually a bit fuzzy, so you might need to clean the heads. It could be just a very old tape, but it looks like that's going to work perfectly fine. I guess we better make sure we have sound. We do have sound. Oh, there we go. Very good. John Cleese doing his silly walk. That looks fantastic. All right, mission successful. We better turn that off. I actually don't know what the issues are as far as copyright goes on TV shows, so we better not show that for too long. Fantastic. Fixed video. All I need to do is clean up the head and the roller. Let's stop that and make sure it ejects properly. Oh, why did it do that? Stop, eject. Okay, we solved that little problem with the door. It seems there was a little plastic lever on this side that actually opens the door when the tape's coming out. So the tape was being a battering ram trying to get through the door with the door closed. But that was just my fault reassembling, so that's all fixed. I've put the cover back on. I have cleaned the head. In fact, I had a piece of paper here somewhere just to show you. There we go. That's the dirt off the head. So it was pretty dirty. Just used the paper and some IPA, and it should be good to go. So let's try a tape in here again. Does it turn on automatically? Yes, it does. There you go. We don't need to turn it on. It automatically turns on now. Goes in beautifully, loads nicely, says play. And there we go. Still a bit fuzzy. It's possibly the tape. Oh no, that looks pretty good. The sound's great too. Beautiful. All right. I might leave it play for a bit just at the shop, but that looks a lot better than what it was before, so I'm sure cleaning the head helped. So there we go, guys. Video fixed. Successful operation. Whoop. I better not sell the video with it. Very satisfying to fix that. It did take me a while, as you saw. I haven't come across this problem before. Hopefully in the future, if I come across it, I'll recognise it and I'll know where to look. And that's all about gaining experience by having a go. I haven't fixed many videos. Any idea how many? How about Zero, well, how about 1? So I like to have a go. I like to teach myself how to do these things, and hopefully you guys pick up something out of it as well. So thanks for watching. I'm going to put this in the shop for $60 maybe. It'll be cheap enough to sell quickly. We don't have a remote, remember. I will play some videos for a while on it to make sure it's going to be good. There we go. Very happy with that. And the most important thing, it's something out of my shed. Catch you in the next video. Bye for now, guys.